Welcome back to Max Regen, where JB, the EV fan, tries to convert me, Dave, the petrol head, to be an electric car convert.
That's good.
Okay, so
Hello.
we've finished charging at Cobham. We only charged 80%, which is actually 80 miles according to the GOM. That's really good. And we actually spent £3 and 6 pence to get 10.2 kilowatt hours. That's what we've taken on board. And we did that in 19 minutes. Right, so now we're going to head off for Reading West. Let's do that thing. Oh, this is interesting. Reversing on a slip road.
Yeah.
I bet they just realised that they're going the wrong way.
I think they're completely confused. So welcome to the M25, London's orbital motorway, or the Britain's biggest car park, depending on how you want to look at it.
It's behaving like a car park at the moment, absolutely.
The first section of the M25 opened when?
Oh, this was in the reign of Maggie Thatcher, wasn't it? So, 83, 4?
No. The first section of the M25 opened in September 1975.
Wow, as far back as that.
When it fully opened in 1986, coach tours were organised so you could go for a trip round. Let's talk about costs again. You've been quite good at this so far. What do you think the estimated cost of building it over that period of time was?
Okay, I'm going to say £1 billion.
£909 million.
Not far off there.
So not far off, not bad there. 2 million tonnes of concrete were used to make the M25.
Yeah, right, so...
It was originally designed to carry up to 100,000 vehicles each day. And today, it's nearly double that. And most of them seem to be on the stretch that we're on at the moment.
Yeah.
It is one of the most important roads in Britain, apparently. I thought I was the most important roads in Britain.
Ah, you are!
And it's one of the busiest, and upon opening it was the longest orbital road in Europe.
What is it,
It's
117
117 miles, or 188 kilometres. The orbital nature of the motorway, in common with racetracks, lent itself to unofficial and illegal motor racing. At the end of the 1980s, before the advent of speed enforcement devices, owners of supercars would meet at night at the South Mims and race around the M25, all 117 miles. Any idea time?
Right, 117 miles. If they were doing 60 miles an hour, that would be 117 minutes. So let's say they're pushing it. Let's say it's just sub an hour then.
And they had to stop at the pay barrier. Don't forget the good old days of the barrier.
Oh,
so you had
God.
to pull up at the barrier and throw your 50p in, or whatever
At the
it was.
Dartford,
Yeah,
that would knacker your average somewhat,
Yeah.
wouldn't it? Yeah, okay. Go on.
Times of below 1 hour were achieved.
Okay.
And the average speed was 117 miles an hour. The winner of the race received champagne. Always good to drink and drive. Rather than any money. It was the Enfield Gazette had an advertisement saying that the M25 Club were going to have a race. Posters appeared near the M25 and advertised London's first cannonball run.
Oh, okay.
And do you know who the person was that found out about it?
Nope.
Boris Johnson.
Really?
How apt is that for this precise moment? Apparently he was a junior reporter at the Times at the time. A London ring road was first suggested by a royal commission back in 1905. The idea was to build a series of ring roads around the capital, and it was first proposed by Patrick Abercrombie as part of the 1944 Greater London Plan, which evolved into the London Ringways project in the early 1960s. But by the time the first two sections had opened in 1975, it was announced that the work would be combined into one single motorway.
The regular noise, listeners and viewers, that you're hearing now,
And the fact that
this is the worst bit of the M25.
Known
it's
to man.
dire. I mean, literally the gaps here must be 2 inches wide.
Did you know, another useless fact,
Yes.
that the M25 does not include the Dartford crossing, because that bit of road is the A282 and not a motorway.
Really?
So it is not a perfectly orbital motorway. Chris Rea was inspired to write a song having travelled on this road. Do you know what it was?
It was the road to hell.
It was. This is the road to hell. Good work. Coming up to date here, in July 2018, rush hour drivers on the M25 were delayed for an hour because 30 ducks walked onto the motorway between junction 19 and 20 near Watford at around 7:30 in the evening. The highways agency then blocked the road while the ducks were guided away from the traffic.
That's a very specific number of ducks, isn't
Yes,
it?
it is. But that wasn't the end of it.
Right.
Because although they were shepherded off the road, the family was so determined to cross, they waddled through a broken fence and back onto the motorway a further 3 times.
Jesus.
There were no casualties, but people said that the ducks were said to be safe, but quackers to try and do it.
Right.
People are going along, scooping up these animals or sort of ushering them back where they came from. Well, they're obviously trying to get somewhere, so why don't you usher them across the road to that sort of side they wanted to be going to, and then they can wander off?
Yes. 4.7 miles from Reading West, which is our second stop. We've decided to push on. We're going to try and really charge this up as high as we can so that we can skip Membry and aim for Delamere. Actually, there's a couple of things before we get to the services. We mentioned just now, didn't we? We were talking about paying for charging is still not working properly.
Paying for charging doesn't work. Most of them, well, you need to have an app, and as you've brilliantly demonstrated at the last place, unfortunately not on camera, the sun was shining brightly, couldn't see the app on his phone, so ended up with his head stuck in the window, trying to operate the app, trying to operate the pump. I just want to use my credit card or my debit card, it's got a chip on it, swipe. Hey, look, it's simple.
You're right, it is confusing at the moment, and you've mentioned quite rightly the problem that the pumps in bright sunlight are difficult to see. It's also difficult to see the app on your phone if you're paying by app. I found it even confusing and hard to pay using the RFID cards because the screen is in sunlight, couldn't really see it. So move to contactless, that is the only way really. We should do that as soon as we can. Polar have recently announced they're going to convert all their pumps to contactless within 2 years, and I've used a Shell Recharge, which also surprisingly had a contactless option. So yes, contactless is the way, and I'm sure it's coming soon.
Well, the other thing is, so you're completely confused by the charging and paying for it, and then you get the plugs. Now, I thought with an electric car, it's quite simple. You turn up, you shove the lead in the front of your car, or on the side of your car, or in the back of your car, wherever it goes, and it charges. No. They've all got different sockets on them, different connectors, and so you're even more confusion.
There are different connectors. I think there are 4 different connectors. Each manufacturer chooses to put their own connector on. This car has a CHAdeMO connector, but there is a movement to standardise everything to CCS. Absolutely no problem with that. Good idea. Let's standardise as long as there's an adapter available so I can take a CCS and turn it into a CHAdeMO and plug this car in for rapid charging. That'd be great. At home, you haven't got to worry. Most manufacturers provide a 13 amp plug and on the end of a cable with the charger in the cable, so you don't have to worry about that. Just plug it in at home and away you go. Granny charging, no problem at all.
So, your payment is confusing, your connectors are confusing. Let's get on to the different rated or power rated chargers. Some are 50 kilowatts, some are 8 kilowatts. That doesn't mean anything to me either. To the average man and lady and dog on the street.
Well, you shouldn't care, really you shouldn't care about that, and I wouldn't worry about it, because
But it does, because if you're planning your journey, you need to know how long you're going to stop somewhere.
Exactly, but you haven't really got any choice. It's not really about the power, it's about the speed of charging. But if the numbers are important, as a rule of thumb, sort of rapid charging is 50 kilowatts, fast charging is sort of 7.5 kilowatts, and charging at home, you draw about 3 kilowatts. This car takes about 40 minutes flat to full on a rapid charger. It takes about 4 hours on a 7.5 kilowatt fast charger, and at overnight it takes about 8 hours to charge on a granny charger. But as I say, the power rating is only the maximum rating it could draw. I've never seen this car on a rapid charger draw any more than 31 kilowatts. And don't forget, because of the nature of charging a battery, as you get towards 80%, the charge rate falls off anyway. But for the purposes, as you said, for the purposes of trying to get an idea on planning a trip, 50 kilowatts, 7.5 kilowatts and 3 kilowatts, those times are pretty good, and you can give you how long you charge. So really, on a journey like this, on a long trip, 50 kilowatt chargers is really all we're going to stop at, because we haven't got the time to wait for anything else.
Whoa.
Yep.
Oh, they're giving way as well. Everybody gives way to everybody else. Genius.
2 chargers.
Oh, mind the Mercedes.
Yeah.
Let's hope he doesn't want to try and plug his
Let's
sandwich.
give him a demo.
Yeah. Oh, let's try not to run him over. Right. Oops.
That's the trouble with electric cars, they're too quiet. I've taken half your sandwich with me. Oh, sorry about that. I thought you were going to pay for the charge for me.
We're now off to find one of those blokes that'll wash your car in the car park while our new friend mourns the loss of his sandwich. See, still funny second time round. Oh yes, EVs menace to society, silently creeping up on people. So we're off to the shop to buy a bell to hang on the car to warn picnic goers we're arriving. Join us next time when we set up a second-hand sandwich business and continue heading for Wales. And don't forget to hit the subscribe button and check out our webpage at maxregen.co.uk.